Check this out, guys. We're near the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and they're building a new ferry terminal over here. Just really cool, some co-working spaces. This is a city environment, right? Like everything is kind of built up, and that's exactly what Tern had in mind when they introduced this new miniature, kind of a compact cargo bike, okay? This is called the GSD. It stands for Get Stuff Done. And over here, we have the Tern Vectron with Bosch. They have a couple versions of this now. One that has a Bafang mid-drive motor. Bosch is sort of the premium, you know, it has shift detection. It's just really responsive, very refined, nice battery design, and good battery weight distribution on this particular bike. This one folds, but you can see it has an awesome rack on the back, a little bit extended. Tern is just, you know, they do such a good job, really, you know, zooming in on how can we make this thing sturdy? How can we make these joints solid? How can we make it compact so that it folds but also adjustable? So that's the Andros stem. How can we make it safe with that integrated light, with the reflective tires? All of that went into their folding bikes. And they're transitioning some of that and bringing it into this cargo bike. And you might think, well, I mean, couldn't this be a folding cargo bike? But the truth is, when you introduce some of those folding joints, maybe there's some, you know, frame flex, a little bit of additional weight. You know, from what I've seen and read and poured over their promotional materials, I've even met some of their staff at Interbike. They're trying to achieve that compact design that still fits in all of those necessary spots, like an elevator if you're trying to go up to your room or something, but also give you enough space on this big rear rack so that you can put multiple, child seats. You can put a big pad here and seat a second adult. They've even got these fold-out pegs right there, and not have it feel super flexy, not have it feel unstable. You might notice that this is using the same 20-inch diameter wheels that you see on a lot of folding bikes, but it has super, super big tires. These are the Schwalbe Supermoto X, and Tern was really excited, like, yeah, they made these just for us, extra fat, so that they'd be stable. You get, you know, more surface area, and just they're not kind of as pointy along the concrete or whatever. Or if you go off-road a little bit, that width is going to give you some float. Okay, so you're not like falling into stuff as much as just floating right over it and maintaining some good momentum, even though they're small, because the smaller wheels can feel a little bit twitchy sometimes, and they can feel a little, I guess squirrely is the word I would use. We've got this deflopulator spring up here, that's what I call it, but it's really just a fork stabilizer, so that if you're parked like this with this nice double leg kickstand, you get plenty of stability. You don't have to worry about the front of the bike. You can focus on the back. You could load up one of these baskets, or maybe add a child seat, which we've got over there. So I just wanted to give you some idea of how the technology is transitioned from there to the new GSD, and also some of the price and weight differences. Okay, so that's like $3,400 for the Vectron with Bosch, whereas this is $39.99. Okay, so it's like $600 more. That one weighs about 49 pounds, whereas the GSD weighs about 67.7 pounds. Definitely a lot heavier, and it's because we've got this aluminum alloy frame, really well reinforced. And if I pull up the little cargo bag, you can see there's all these extra struts and support arms, and even these little nubs on the back, and that's so you can stand the bike up vertically. Look at that, even giving you plenty of places to secure these fenders. Something I think about sometimes when you're riding a little bit faster and over bumpy terrain. You want to have fenders that aren't going to rattle loose and make a ton of noise, but you want ones that are tough. So this has a rubber flexible little flap at the end, and they give you full coverage. So coming back to that tire size, these are 20 by 2.4 inches. So they're not quite plus size, but Tern has also taken I guess, kind of a nod from mountain bikes. Some of these real hardcore mountain bikes have through axles that gives you a lot of extra stiffness, and then Boost, which is a little bit of a wider hub spacing. So instead of 100 millimeters, this is 110. So it's a little bit wider, gives you room for those fenders and these custom tires. And same thing in the back. We've got a Boost 148 millimeter hub spacing with 12 millimeter through axle. So it's just, you know, really sturdy. Still got quick release though, so you can perform maintenance a little bit easier. Got that nice reflective sidewall stripe. That's something I really think about, you know, when you're riding in the city. Sometimes you're early morning, late at night. We've got that light up there. We've got these fun colors. This one's a gloss orange. They also have this gloss blue that looks really pretty. And then more of a matte, kind of a silver blue that looks nice. So there's something here for everyone. It's kind of a unisex option. But the orange really stands out as like safety, like notice me, you know, like those vests that people wear. There's so much to talk about here in terms of accessories, and I really love that they included all these extra, I would call them bottle cage bosses, so you could add maybe a folding lock right here and a water bottle right there. The standover height is only 20 inches, so people who are a little bit smaller or shorter inseam can still approach this bike and not have to worry about balancing all that weight potentially while swinging your leg over. You can just step right through. So that's really awesome. The overall length of this bike is about 72.5 inches. Most electric bikes or bikes in general are about 72. So even though it's kind of longer and it's giving you all that extra space for cargo, the bike itself isn't really that much longer, and those wheels bring the whole thing down. Okay, so on the website, it's kind of marketing, but they're like longer wheelbase for stability. It's a bit of a stretch for me because there's a little bit more weight up top, so that, you know, when I'm riding this thing, it feels good for what it is, but there's still some handling. You know, you have to get used to that a little bit if you aren't familiar with like the 20-inch wheel size. It's something I think about a little bit. So, you know, we've got the Schwalbe Big Apple tires on this one. For comparison, these are 20 by 2.15, okay? So this was 2.4, and that's that extra fat design. I like the pedals here. These are plastic platform, but they have this grippy, almost like skateboard treads. You're not gonna slip off. These are not folding. Tern, on a lot of their other bikes, they make them folding, but I think this was the right call. They're a little bit stiffer, and they give you that extra surface area to deal with. Because a bike like this, again, it might be you plus another passenger. I like the ergonomic grips, locking, so not going to twist on you, swept back handlebar. They've got the Bosch Purion display, really small, compact, stays out of the way. There's even room here to mount your GPS, so if you're a delivery person or maybe you're just in a new city or whatever, you can still get around easily. And then the Magura MT5 hydraulic disc brakes. So we talk about that 67.7 pounds plus all that cargo potential. This thing can handle up to 400 pounds. You definitely want to be able to stop. It's got 180 millimeter disc brake rotors with quad piston calipers. So you see that? There's two of them, two on each side. So that's quad piston. That's another like mountain bike inspired hardware choice. And it spreads out the surface area for braking, distributes heat a little bit better, and just gives you better grab. These are 3-finger levers, but you can operate them with just 1 or 2 fingers. They work really well, and they offer adjustable reach. So you can come in here, see that star pattern? You can bring the levers in a little bit, and that's perfect for someone who has smaller hands. Again, a petite rider. On the website, they say, well, this can fit anyone from, you know, 4'8" to 6'4". It's like this huge range of people, body types, and sizes. That's something that's really neat. I mentioned the stem here, how it adjusts and swivels. The Seatpost does the same sort of thing. So you've got this lower section and this higher section. The reason they had two is so that they can slide all the way down. They had this endpoint right here before the motor mount plate, and you know, they wanted it to all be able to stow. Okay, so I was talking about comfort earlier. These bigger tires offered a little bit of kind of like give and bounce almost. They feel stable, but it's a little bit of a suspension kind of a feel, but just a little bit. They have a wide range of PSI. I think it's 30 to 65. I'm riding right down on 30 because I only weigh 135 pounds myself. The higher PSI is going to be great and important for if you're carrying a lot of extra gear or you're a heavier rider. You don't want the tires to flex so much that the rim kind of like, you know, it's the snake bite thing on your inner tube. But these rims are really solid. I wouldn't worry about those bending. It's like 13 gauge spokes. They almost look like BMX rims or something. Atlas, double walled. So anyway, coming back to the PSI, it's sort of about comfort, but it's also about how you're riding the bike. And I do care a lot about comfort. There's just less air volume in that smaller diameter tire, and you're just not getting like the lower attack angle that you would get, or the knobby tires like mountain bikes. And I have a sensitive neck and back, so these bikes are always a little bit of a like, oh, how's it gonna feel? How am I gonna feel? coming back to the ergonomic grips and that comfort saddle, one other thing you can do is swap out that top seat post. This is 30.9 millimeter diameter. There are seat post suspensions, so a little spring built in. You could use one of those on this bike, but note that it's going to raise that minimum saddle height position by 3 inches. The good thing is you can lower this one really low. So I think for most people that would still be a great option. Some of the higher quality seat post suspension from like Body Float or Thudbuster or even the Suntour NCX, they don't always come in like all the different sizes, so you might have to get a shim, and I'm going to link to those in the full review. But I just wanted to call that out, okay? And you know, I think it's still going to be pretty comfortable for like a second passenger, especially with that squishy pad or the child seats. It's relatively forgiving. But as a primary rider, you know, this thing comes with a 400 watt hour Bosch power pack, okay? And that's from kind of like the 2015, 2016 time frame. In 2017, we got the Power Pack 500, 25% higher capacity, also a little bit more expensive, slightly more heavy, like maybe half a pound or something. The Power Pack 400, 36 volt, 11 amp hours. It weighs about, you know, 5.4, 5.5 pounds, easy to remove. You can charge it on or off the bike, which is really nice. You can see there's even like a little port. It's accessible right there. The thing about it is you're just not going to get quite as much range as the Power Pack 500. Tern does offer like you can an upgrade program. And the interesting thing is there are 2 interfaces right here. So you could have 2 Power Pack 400s. And if you buy it at the time, if you purchase it when you get the bike, I think it's only like $4,799. So it's like $800 more, and you get a second battery pack. And they advertise that this thing could go 150 plus miles. You know, like that's a long way to be riding. But coming back to that delivery bike, or maybe even like a little electric bike school bus if you're taking kids to school, and then maybe you're going to work in the city. A lot of people don't have cars, and you know, maybe your job changes or you need to get around. This bike is going to be so capable for those scenarios. And again, safety thing, I talked about the reflective sidewall strap. Here's some more reflective patterns. They got these nice bags with a big reflective point. You get a lot with this bike just right out of the gates. There's the rear fender. You've even got a chain protector, so you're not going to get all messy and stuff. It's easy to stand over. Like I can totally see how this thing would work in all these different scenarios. Comfort would be my one big thing, and they've given you so many options in terms of ergonomic seating position. Just that seat post suspension is what I would come back to. So that's like a really good, I think, overview. I love that they've got the battery packs low and center on the frame, as center as they could be, but they kept that step through open. I love that they didn't try to go with a wave single tube design, because these triangles, they're really gonna reinforce it, and you don't feel the same frame flex. I rode around on this with one of the Tern reps at Interbike. He's a bigger guy, Galen, and he, you know, it was fine, and the motor gave me a lot of assistance, and that's the other thing. So I see a lot of people, especially here in New York City, they're riding around with like the Extra Cycle unpowered cargo bike, okay? And you can switch gears to be low, but then you're just going really slow, you know, and then it's slower, things aren't, you don't quite have that same stability. So I really think a perfect application for electric bikes is cargo, right? And this being a compact cargo bike, what we've got here is the Bosch Performance Line motor. Okay, that's like one of the first ones that they introduced here in the United States. It's great in terms of power delivery. It's got that same response, shift detection, which is important. We've got a traditional cassette and derailleur back here, 11 to 36 tooth. This one is Shimano Dior, and it has this one-way clutch. So see, if you put that little gray lever down, it's gonna be easier to shift. If you put it up high, it's slightly stiffer shifting, but it gives that chain some extra tension, so it's not bouncing around, slapping your frame. See, I don't see a slap guard on that chain stay right here. It's super close because Bosch has a smaller chain ring. This is 20 tooth, and it spins at 2.5 revolutions for every crank arm revolution. So if I do this once, that chain ring is spinning 2.5 times, and it gives the motor a mechanical advantage. It grabs the chain really well, it keeps it compact. It's just, because it's smaller, you know, it's bringing the chain closer to the frame. And then look how low, and like that derailleur is a little bit vulnerable to me. I would just keep an eye on that. Thankfully, the frame is built out in these bags, and even this peg might keep you from getting too close to a curb. It's a minor thing. There's always these technical trade-offs or considerations when you're dealing with the addition of a motor. This motor, it's super responsive. It's measuring your rear wheel speed pedal cadence, and pedal torque over 1,000 times per second. Okay, it's incredible. It offers up to 63 Newton meters of peak torque compared to, you know, the Vectron over here. Remember, it's a lighter weight bike, still very capable for hauling cargo and stuff. You could put a child seat on that, but maybe not two. This one has the Bosch Active Line. This is 50 Newton meters of torque. Okay, and it's just not quite as zippy. You don't get quite that same, like, let's go. It's a little smoother. It's a little, you know, I think it's a great choice for this bike, especially with the smaller length or wheelbase and the smaller tires. This one, it has the smaller diameter tires, but they're fatter again. They give you that stability. You've got some weight. It feels really fluid. Those are the thoughts that you know, they're going through my mind. One thing that I should mention about the Bosch motors and that whole gearbox concept is that because it's spinning 2.5 times for every crank arm revolution, there's a little bit of friction there. You definitely hear a little bit more noise too when you're riding at a higher RPM or in the full power. Get kind of a ring, like a zip thing. I don't really notice it that much being in the city. It kind of gets loud around here anyway. I'm here with Chris Nolte from Propel Bikes, and these are actually his bikes. How are you doing, Chris?
Doing well.
You know, I've just been talking up a storm here. Like, there's so much to say about these bikes, and I was hoping you could maybe help me pull off one of those batteries, and we could talk about the dual battery configuration, because this is set up to handle two, but I didn't see the single charging port like you get on some of the Reese and Mueller bikes. Did I miss that, or?
Right. Yeah, so I guess from this side, if it was going to charge, I would just charge from this port here.
Yeah.
This port is actually not really accessible because of the chain, and you can also see that there's a label over that because the way the dual battery harness works, you can only charge from one port.
Okay, so you only have to plug in one place and it charges both batteries?
That's right.
Okay, yep. And then if you wanted, you could charge it off the bike. So do you mind taking this battery pack off?
Absolutely.
Just get the key, it kind of lifts up, slides up and out. Wow, this is great. I already hit the battery specs, you know, 36 volt, 11 amp hours, but I'm just always impressed by these. It has a little LED. Will you press that?
Sure.
Kind of a battery capacity graphic on the side right there. That's handy because sometimes, you know, you park the bike for the winter and you haven't used it for a while. Hopefully you're storing those batteries in a cool, dry location. That's going to help them last longer. But it might be getting ready for, you know, spring and you're like, oh, how full is that battery? Do I need to charge it? And you can just see really quickly. And you can charge these batteries really quickly because the bike comes with this Bosch fantastic 4 amp charger, and it's one of my favorites. Well, there we go, right side up. Weighs about 1.7 pounds, puts out 4 amps instead of just 2 amps. That's going to be a really nice thing when you have 2 battery packs and you're filling up, you know, twice the capacity. So I would potentially throw that in a bag, even bring it along, or get an additional one. Bosch does have that 2 amp charger. It's compact, a little bit lighter, easier to take along with you. So now that I've got Chris out here, I was hoping to show this elevator / folding concept before we put any accessories on. That's going to be easiest. What's the first thing we do? Should we take down the seat here?
Yeah, so we can take down the seat to the lowest position. So basically we're trying to make this bike kind of as compact as it will go, because that's one of the real benefits to this particular bike as a cargo bike that's still compact.
So I just love the saddle has this little handle built in. It's kind of a neat extra feature when you're trying to maneuver the bike, but be careful because if you get a seat post suspension and you're wrangling on that thing, it could loosen it up a little bit. At this point, I think you were saying, you know, you actually put it up on its end and then mess with the front and the handlebar thing. So I'm gonna step back. Chris is gonna lock the right brake because that actually secures the rear wheel, and then he can just tip the bike back. Look at that, super easy. And then it stands up. There's this 4 pegs that we were showing earlier, and the bike balances. Look at that, he's not even having to hold it. And then there's this little latch, kind of undo that. It's the same, and I love it. There's no like flopping around on that lever. And then I think, yeah, if you wanted to, you could undo this spring right here like that, and then flip the wheel around just like that. And then there's this rubber extra little thing. Just so many like really good attention to detail. And go ahead, and how tall are you, Chris?
So I'm about 5'9".
He's 5'9". You know, he's wearing a helmet.
With the helmet off. So
look at that.
It's a little tall.
So the bike's very similar to Chris, like in terms of width and everything. Yeah, the pedals stick out a little bit more, and we got this, you know, awesome kickstand and stuff, but it's not too wide, it's not overly tall. This could fit in a closet or really anywhere a person could, like an elevator. That only took a couple seconds. And you know, again, at about 67.7 pounds, I don't know, I just think that's really nice. They did a great job without having to make it fully folding, like fold in half. You still get something that's compact. And then, again, back at the site, I have recorded the length, the height, the width, all that, and then I folded it all down and I recorded that too. So you can get some idea of whether this would fit in your pantry or your closet or your elevator or whatever. So those are the feet that we were on. They're plastic, and I'm sure they get a little bit, over time get scraped up a little bit, but they seem to do pretty well, and then the bags just kind of push out of the way when you do that. There are so many configurations with this. Maybe we can talk about, what the options are. Okay, so before we get into all the optional accessories, these bags are pretty sweet. They've got that little latch. You open it up, lots of space. I measured them, got the measurements back at the site. There's a zipper pocket right here, some extra little pockets. It's like there's 4 different places, including this little, potentially like a drink holder right there on the front. And then they fold up really compact like that when you wanna go riding. We were actually able to get the child seat on with this bag still being on. This is a Yep child seat. Is this called the Maxi?
Right, this is the Maxi.
Yeah, it's got this, what is it, 2 shoulder straps and this big opening. We just slide it right on over.
Right, and this is the adapter. There's 2 different types of Yep seats. One will mount to the seat post, and this one's different for these sorts of mounting points.
Yeah.
So
spread it open a little bit, and let's see, we tip it down in the front. There we go. See the little entry point? Tighten it on. I'm just amazed like how quick and easy it is to do that. There was even a picture, and again, great marketing material on the website, where there's a kid in the back seat and then there's a pad and an adult, and they're using those foot pegs right here. We might go for a little ride later if you're willing to take me, and we can just cruise around and get some feedback on this. But I love that. So now let's dive into the other optional accessories, because there's so many others.
So the primary accessories are the transporter rack, which is a front mounted frame rack, which you can carry multiple different things on. The side lower deck, which is really helpful if you're putting more than 2 kids on the back if the pegs don't work, for example. Then you have the short bed tray, which mounts to the mounting points that are on the rear deck. And then you have the Sidekick Seat Pad, which all of these accessories are made specifically by Tern for their bike. And then the seat pad, you can use 2 of them if you wanted to carry 2 adults.
And you can mix and match all of that.
Right.
Yeah. So being able to outfit the bike with a whole range of accessories, including like front bags. They have a setup where you could have 6 Ortlieb panniers. So if this was like a touring platform for you, and then this is where that front basket tray would mount, and it mounts to the head tube of the bike. So when you're steering, it doesn't turn and kind of dump over. Just done a really good job, really thoughtfully designed here, and designed to be tough and durable. This uses the Bosch system, which offers a 2-year comprehensive warranty. So you're getting, pretty fantastic support that way. The batteries are available at a wide range of shops and dealers across the US and Europe. And that's something that's nice too. Like if you wanted to bring your bike somewhere, you'd probably be able to find a battery on location instead of having to ship your battery, which is really difficult to do because of the airlines and stuff for safety. There's a lot of options, and I think that the weight distribution here is pretty good. I might just hop on this thing before we've loaded it up and give you guys a little tour, but first we got to talk about the display. So now that the battery's mounted, it's all charged up, I'm going to press the power button on top of the display, and it blinks on very quickly. That's one of the things I love about the Bosch system. Got your speed in miles per hour. We've got off in the middle. That means we don't have any assist, but if I press plus, we go up to Eco, Tour, Sport, or Turbo, so you have 4 options. We have a battery infographic on the bottom, 5 ticks. Those are 20% increments. It's not quite as detailed as if it just said your actual percentage, or maybe there were 10 ticks. There's room for improvement on that. The Bosch Purion is kind of a mixed bag because it's compact and it may be a little bit more affordable, and it frees up this dashboard, but it's not removable like the Intuvia. And even though it has a little micro USB port right here, that doesn't actually put out enough electricity to charge a phone, for example. So you could have, 400 power pack, or 800 if you had 2, or even the power pack 500,000 watt hours, a kilowatt hour of electricity energy here on your bike, and you couldn't tap into it because of this display. Some of the shops, like Chris's shop, they can actually help you get the Intuvia, but I'm not sure if you'd be able to mount it on this one because of that Andros stem. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Not the end of the world, but something I felt I should mention. On the bottom here, we have walk mode. So you press it, and then see it says walk plus. So if I press the plus button, it would actually start, moving the bike. And given that the bike on its own is almost 70 pounds, imagine having kids and having to cut through a park and there's like a craft fair going on or something. It's nice that the bike could actually help you walk. And as you shift gears, it's going to increase or decrease the speed of that walk mode, just like if you were riding the bike. So again, these mid-drive motors are really great. They're efficient because they leverage that drivetrain, but it's up to you to shift gears thoughtfully in order to maximize its potential. And one of the ways that Bosch tries to help you do that is they have shift recommendation, like arrows that point up or down, but that's not available on the Purion either. It just wouldn't fit. So if you hold the minus button here for a couple seconds, you'll see it changed from which assist level I was in to say trip, and then it says, okay, total. And so that's trip distance, total distance. We hold it again. Range. Range is really cool because it dynamically tells you how far the bike can go based on how much battery is left over and how you've been riding over the past mile or so, as well as what level of assist you're in. So right now we're in sport mode, and it says 44 miles. But if I go all the way down to eco, that's the lowest. Now it says 104 miles. But again, we have 2 batteries on right now. So I just think it's pretty phenomenal. It's definitely neat to get that kind of feedback, and it's much more useful than just like 5 battery bar ticks. It's probably not going to be perfectly accurate because you change as you're riding, and you might change assist levels, but it gives you a really good idea. If you hold minus and then press the power button, it changes from miles per hour to kilometers per hour, which is great. And then the final most important one is if you hold down plus, it activates the lights. So see, there's a little lights infographic, and then this headlight, you actually have to switch it on with that physical switch. Really aimable, really nice light. I like that. And again, it's mounted up high so you can kind of be seen by cars. This Yep Maxi seat does a really good job with the built-in reflectors and stuff, because you don't want to get hit from behind, and then you have that integrated light at the back too, as well as another reflector. So they're really doing everything they can to keep you safe, and I think that's key. I mean, no one wants to be vulnerable that way. I'm gonna go ahead and take the bike forward off that kickstand. There we go. You can hear the chain bouncing a little bit. I'm gonna ride this around in turbo mode because I think it's the easiest to hear, and you can kind of see how quickly it responds at its maximum. A little bit bouncy. I'm only riding with one hand right now, and the smaller wheel diameter is a little bit squirrely. We're just up to that 20 mile per hour top speed. Not hard to do. Didn't have to stand up, and really the seat's in its lowest position, so this is not ideal for me. I'm a little bit squished, but let's do that quick change up. Okay, now I'm gonna get full leg extension. It's gonna be a lot more comfortable. Trying to do the no hands thing here, but the bike tips a little bit to the left, even a little bit of speed wobble there a second ago because of the vibration. So what I'm trying to get at here is this is great for being compact and having that smaller wheel diameter, but it's definitely, it's not quite as stable as some full-size cargo bikes, nor is it quite as comfortable just because of the smaller wheels. But I really think Tern did a great thing when they got those custom 2.4-inch Swabi Supermoto X tires. That was, that makes this bike much more enjoyable, to me at least. Chris was nice enough to take the bag off the right side of the bike so we can see the derailleur. I'm gonna shift through. You can listen for that, hopefully easier shifting. It does have shift detection. It's more of a software-driven thing where there are these little gaps, and it allows the chain to jump without so much stress, but it's still a good idea to ease off a little bit when you're shifting so you're not pushing really hard. Again, the motor measures the speed, the cadence, and the torque of your pedaling, so if you ease off on the torque, the motor's going to ease back, it's going to shift a little bit smoother. I do have this clutch in the up position, so it's going to be a little bit tighter as well, a little bit snappier. Let's give it a go. Nice little brake test there at the end. I'm really impressed with the brakes. You know, stopping is such a big deal when you're carrying precious cargo, and the size on these and then the quad piston just makes a big difference. And here's the side of the bike now that the pannier is off, so you can see the 2 batteries right there, the drivetrain, and just all those reinforcement bars. Really, really solid. Hey Chris, you wanna hop on this and maybe give me a ride around?
Let's do it.
Okay, go. We'll get those pegs out. And they are magnetic, so you sort of put it back and it clicks in. It's almost like a cabinet. I'm actually gonna sit in the kids thing. There we go. And I got that little handle to hold on to when we start.
All right.
We're in a higher gear, so take your time shifting. Oh boy.
You doing? You all right?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Even just the foam in the car seat helps a lot. How does it feel to you?
Feels pretty good. I mean, generally speaking, the more weight you should have closer to the middle of the bike, so you're kind of in the back.
Yeah.
Which is not totally ideal, but it's still pretty stable.
Okay. Well, you know, and for me, it kind of reminds me of riding in the back of the bus where all the kids like, whoa, you hit a bump and you go flying.
Right.
But it's really not too bad. It doesn't feel, you know, I'm shaking the frame right now, and
yeah, I feel it a little bit, but it's still, I think because the weight is centered pretty low, it's not too bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Again, the smaller wheel diameter brings the whole bike down closer to the ground. So putting your legs down, you know, stopping, here we are at a stop sign. If you take a complete stop, you know, Chris is able to balance this bike maybe a little bit easier than a full-size bike.
Right, yeah.
From here you can see me pedaling, get a sense for how the bike handles, bounces a little bit, listen for the motor. Just gonna drive along the street and head back to the shop. Appreciate that. Okay guys, we're just riding around Brooklyn. Thought I'd give you the third person perspective. So Chris is on the GSD. to squeeze through cars. It's important. Heading over to this little costume party near the park. I think they're having like a dog costume contest. Wow, it's packed. Lead on. This is where walk mode might be nice to show. Wanna try it? Press the walk mode and then hold the plus. There you go. I'm gonna do the same thing on this one. Plus, nice. Lots of fun happening here at the park. Got this great train going around, picking up kids, the bouncy house, the band. It's just so much fun to get out on a bike and have a little bit of fun. Bring the whole family. It's a doggy costume contest.
That does it for the 19th. Yeah. If you can believe it, 19th annual Fort Greene Pumpkin Contest. Please put your hands together one more time. Let's show them some love, you guys. These costumes really brought it this year. We have our cattle pup, we have our Paul Reader, and we have our new and improved Alexander Hamilton. You guys all deserve congratulations. Take a bow, everybody. Every year, you guys can see, be kind to each other.
Hey.
Be kind to each other, and we'll do this all again next year.
That's pretty awesome. Where's your costume, Chris? Oh man.
Next year.
Hey guys, I realized we went long on that. I appreciate you hanging out with us. The goal here was to take some of that fantastic marketing that Tern has done and break it down and give you all the stats. Again, all those are recorded back at the site, and also just some of the feel. Like, what does it actually feel like? Well, yeah, there are some trade-offs when you try to make a bike compact. Comfort is one of them, but hopefully I've given you some ideas of how you can address that. Overall, I mean, the motor is very capable. I think they made the right choice with the Performance Line. Maybe even the Performance Line CX someday could make sense because you're hauling up to 400 pounds. Chris, I appreciate you hanging out with me and giving me your insights as a shop.
My pleasure.
You know, and especially getting to see these back to back. I realize it's kind of a different use case, different application, but a couple people have asked me specifically, like, well, what do you think? There's the Vectron, but now they got the GSD. Should I get that? And it's like, again, on the website, you can click the box that says compare, and it'll have all the dimensions. You'll be able to compare everything. I think this is still a really fantastic bike. And for people who want to like fold it in half and put it in the back of their SUV to get home, great. Maybe you only have one kid, that car seat would fit on that, and you're great, you know? But if you want to go a little bit more stable, you want to go further with the double batteries, you want to have multiple people, maybe a mom and dad, or a mom and mom, or a dad and whoever, plus a kid, like, you can do that with this bike. Literally, like 3 people can ride on this bike, maybe even 3 adults. Like if they're all in the 125 pound range, and
they're closer to you, they're closer to my weight, I don't know what.
It's a capable system, and again, those smaller wheel diameter just does so much for stability, but it's still not perfect. It was a little squirrely for me, like it's hard to do everything, but I think Tern has done a fantastic job with this. For the full write-up, I'll see you back at the site. Of course, have fun out there, ride safe.